change in a single evening. But the moment I stepped into that boardroom, everything I had ever known shattered into pieces. My father sat at the head of the table, cold and calculating as always. My mother stood beside him, arms crossed, her expression smug. And then there was my brother, Adam, the family's golden boy, lounging in his chair like he had already won whatever twisted game they were playing. "Sit," my father ordered. Something felt off. I could feel it in my bones. But I sat down. The folder was slid across the table towards me. I frowned, flipping it open. My heart stopped. I was staring at a legal document, a transfer of all my inheritance, my trust fund, my shares in the company, everything that belonged to me. And it was all going to Adam. What the hell is this? My voice was sharp, but inside, my stomach twisted. Adam smirked. "That, dear sister, is your exit plan?" I looked up at my parents, hoping, praying, that this was some cruel joke. But my father's expression was cold as steel. My mother sighed, as if I were an inconvenience she wished would just disappear. "It's what's best," my father said. "For the family." "For the family? What about me? You expect me to sign this?" I scoffed, pushing the papers away. "Are you insane?" My mother stepped forward. "You were never meant to lead, Anna. You're just not capable." Capable? I had been running operations of the company since I was 21. I had worked twice as hard as Adam, proving myself every step of the way. I clenched my fists. "This is a joke. I built my reputation in this company. Adam cut me off with a laugh. "You mean our reputation? Everything you did was because of Dad's name." I felt something crack inside me. All my life, I had fought to prove I wasn't just the daughter of a powerful businessman. I had fought to prove that I deserved my place at the top. And now they were ripping it all away. My father slid a pen across the table. "Sign?" "No." His expression darkened. "You don't have a choice." And that was when I realized they had already won. I didn't sign right away. I fought. I screamed. I threatened. I even begged. But my father? He had already pulled all the strings. Bank accounts? Frozen. Credit cards?
Declined.
My personal assets?
Seized.
In a single night, I went from being the heir to a billion-dollar empire to having nothing. Not even a place to stay. And the worst part? No one cared. Not my so-called friends. Not the people I had helped. Not even the company's employees I had fought for. I was a nobody. My father's last words to me before I walked out of the mansion still echoed in my head. "You were never meant to be more than a placeholder, Anna. Now get out." For weeks, I drifted. I found a cheap motel that smelled like mold, using the last bit of cash I had to keep a roof over my head. I applied for jobs. No one would hire me. My father had made sure of that. Everywhere I went, I hit a dead end. My name, the name that once meant everything, was now a curse. I spent nights staring at the ceiling, wondering, was this it? Was this how my story ended? And then, one night, I looked at myself in the mirror. The girl staring back at me wasn't the same. She was broken, defeated. I gritted my teeth.
No.
I wasn't going to let them win. If they thought I was going to fade away quietly, they were wrong. Very, very wrong. I had nothing. But if there was one thing I still had, it was my mind. My family had underestimated me. They thought I had no power without them. But what they didn't realize was, I was smarter than all of them. With the little money I had left, I started working my way up from scratch. I took night shifts at a local cafe, using every spare second to learn everything about the business world. I studied corporate takeovers, financial loopholes, stock manipulation, everything they had used to keep me down. And after months of working like hell, I finally had my first breakthrough. A new opportunity. A way back into the game. And the best part? They wouldn't see me coming. Months passed and I barely survived. Every dollar was stretched. Every meal was a calculation. But I never stopped learning. One night, while working the late shift at the cafe, I overheard two businessmen talking about a struggling tech startup. I had nothing to lose. So I took a risk. Using the last bit of cash I had, I bought shares in the startup. It wasn't much, but it was a start. I spent nights researching, days networking, doing everything I could to turn that tiny investment into something bigger. And one day, it happened. The startup exploded in value. Overnight, I went from broke and desperate to having enough to start something of my own. It wasn't revenge yet, but it was the first step. With my first real money, I knew I had one chance. One chance to build something powerful. I started small, a consulting firm, using the knowledge I had gained from years in my father's company. At first, no one took me seriously, until they saw what I could do. I tripled profits for small businesses, helped companies recover from financial disasters, and within a year, my name was back. But this time, it was mine, not my father's. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was gaining power. And once I had enough, I was going to destroy them. By the second year, my company had become one of the most sought-after firms in the city. People who had once turned their backs on me, now they begged to work with me. Investors poured in. I expanded, moved into high-stakes corporate takeovers, and learned how to dismantle empires from the inside out. And as fate would have it, my father's company was struggling. The golden boy, Adam, was failing. And that's when I saw my opening. It was time to strike. It started with small, quiet moves. I bought shares in my father's company through shell corporations, making sure they had no idea who was behind it. Piece by piece, I gained control. And then, one day, I owned a majority of the company. My father? He had no idea. Adam? Clueless. They thought they were still untouchable. Until the board called for a vote of no confidence. And the new CEO was announced.
Me.
The day I walked into the boardroom, everything stopped. My father's face went pale. My mother clutched Adam's arm, her breath caught in her throat. And Adam? He looked at me like he had seen a ghost. This isn't possible, he stammered. I smiled. Oh, but it is. For the first time in my life, I had all the power. And they had none. I sat at the head of the table where my father once ruled. He sat across from me, his hands trembling. You can't do this, he whispered. I leaned forward. I already did. Every ounce of betrayal, pain, and suffering they had put me through, it was finally their turn to feel it. And I was just getting started. Silence filled the boardroom. For the first time in my life, they had no control over me. My father gripped the table so hard his knuckles turned white. You don't understand what you've done. I tilted my head. Oh, I understand perfectly. Adam's arrogance shattered in an instant. The once smug brother, who had laughed as he stole everything from me, now he looked like a child who had just realized the monsters under his bed were real. My mother?
She didn't speak.
Her face was twisted in shock, as if she couldn't comprehend that the daughter they had discarded had returned more powerful than they ever imagined. I leaned back in my chair, looking at their stunned faces. This moment, this was everything. But I wasn't done yet. My father's company, now mine, was drowning in debt, thanks to Adam's terrible leadership. I had two choices. Save it and let them crawl back to their comfortable lives. Tear it down piece by piece and leave them with nothing. Guess which one I chose? I announced an internal restructuring, one that included firing Adam. You can't do this. Adam exploded, slamming his fists on the table. I stared at him. You did it to me. His lips parted, but no words came out. Now he understood. I didn't just fire Adam. I made sure everyone knew about it. The media ate it up. Billionaire heiress Anna takes over, fires brother, who betrayed her. Fall of a golden boy. Adam gets kicked out of his own companies. The same way they humiliated me years ago, I returned the favor. And my father? He tried to hold on, tried to fight back. But he was old news now. No one respected him anymore. Because I was the one in power. One by one, I took everything from them. Their business?
Gone.
Their fortune? Vanishing fast. Their power? Stripped away. They had spent their lives belittling me, underestimating me, throwing me away like I was nothing.
Now?
They were the ones no one cared about. I found my father in his office, staring at the empty walls. The once mighty man who had controlled everything now had nothing left. He turned when I walked in, his eyes tired. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" I didn't answer immediately. Then I smiled. "I am." He let out a bitter laugh. "So, what now? You destroy us completely." I stared at him for a long moment. Once, I had desperately craved his approval.
Now?
He was just another man I had beaten. I had won. I expected Adam to fight back, to try and reclaim what he lost. Instead, he showed up at my office. His confidence?
Gone.
His arrogance? Shattered. He looked at me like a drowning man begging for a lifeline. "Anna, please." His voice was hoarse. "I don't have anything left." I leaned forward. "Now you know how it feels." He swallowed hard. I was wrong. I should have never. I held up a hand. "Stop." I studied him for a long moment. Then I gave him the same cold smile he once gave me. "You're just a nobody now." And I walked away. With my father's company fully under my control, I did what no one expected. I merged it into my empire, erasing my father's legacy completely. His name? Wiped from the business world. My family, who once controlled everything, now had nothing. And I was untouchable. Adam tried to find another job. No one would hire him. My father tried to rebuild his connections. No one returned his calls. My mother? She went silent. They had made me a nobody. Now they were the nobodies. And I had built an empire.
All on my own.
Years ago, they laughed when I was thrown out with nothing. Now, they whispered my name in fear. I wasn't just another rich heiress anymore. I was the woman who came back stronger than ever. And no one, not my family, not anyone, could take that away from me again. One day, I stood outside the mansion I had once called home. It felt small now. I didn't need it anymore. Because I had built something greater. I had built myself. I turned away, my heart light. My past didn't define me anymore. I had won. And there was nothing left to say. I stood outside the estate, the place that once held all my childhood memories, my pain, my betrayal. It used to feel like a fortress. A kingdom that only my father ruled.
Now?
It was just a house. An empty, lifeless structure. A part of me thought I'd feel satisfaction seeing it this way. But all I felt was nothing. Because I didn't need this house anymore. I had built my own empire. And I had erased theirs. I thought Adam would disappear after everything. But he didn't. One evening, as I left my office, I saw him waiting outside. He looked different. Gone was the arrogant, entitled man who had laughed as he stole my inheritance. In his place was someone broken. "I know I don't deserve to ask for anything," he said, his voice quiet. "But please, I don't have anywhere else to go." For a brief second, I remembered the brother I used to have. The one before the greed. The one before he saw me as a threat. And for that second, I almost felt pity. But then I remembered the way he smirked as I signed those papers. The way he told me, "You're just a nobody now." And I smiled. That's not my problem. Then I got in my car and left him there, just like he left me. Out of everyone in my family, my mother was the one who surprised me the most.
She didn't beg.
She didn't try to manipulate her way back into my life. She simply disappeared. I heard rumors. She had left the city, moved somewhere quiet, far away from the chaos. But I didn't care. Because I was finally free from her. One day, I received a letter. It was from my father. I almost threw it away. But curiosity got the best of me. Inside, his handwriting was shaky, not the confident, commanding script I remembered. "Anna, you were always smarter than I gave you credit for. And now you've proven that to the world. I have nothing left. No company. No wealth. No family. Maybe I deserve that. Maybe this was my punishment. But I hope, someday, you'll remember that I was still your father. And maybe, just maybe, you'll forgive me." I read the letter twice. Then I burned it. Forgiveness? That wasn't something he had ever given me. And I wasn't about to give it to him now. With my father's business erased and my name now a legend in the corporate world, I felt something I hadn't felt in years.
Peace.
I had fought. I had suffered. I had lost everything. But in the end, I had rebuilt myself. Not as a daughter. Not as an heiress. But as a self-made woman who had taken on giants and won. Months later, I found myself walking into a new boardroom. But this time, it was my company. I was no longer the girl begging for a place at the table. I owned the damn table. My executive stood when I entered. And as I took my seat at the head of the boardroom, I smiled. I had rewritten my own story. One evening, as I sat in my penthouse, my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to pick up. Hello. There was silence. Then a voice I hadn't heard in years. Anna. I froze. It was my mother. My mother's voice was quiet, hesitant. I just wanted to hear your voice, she said.
I didn't say anything.
She sighed. I know I don't deserve to ask for anything. I know I was cruel. I cut her off. Manipulative. Heartless. Silence. Then, softly, she said, yes. I waited. I just wanted you to know, she continued, that I regret everything. And I'm sorry. The words should have meant something. But they didn't. Because it was too late. So I said nothing. And then I hung up. The world had tried to break me. My own family had tried to erase me. But in the end, I had risen. I had built something that no one could take from me. And for the first time in my life, I was truly free. I stood on the balcony of my penthouse, looking out at the city skyline. Everything I had now, I had earned it. And I wasn't afraid anymore. Because I knew one thing for sure. I had survived